This is Pete Wenners with Table Rock Techniques from the Pros. Kind of a new deal that we're doing. We're going to try to do 1 or 2 of these a month. And I'm going to get like some of the top guides on Table Rock, some of the FLW fishermen, some of the Bassmaster Elite guys, and pick their brains on a certain technique. And I've got Bill Beck here with me today from Table Rock Lake Guide Service. Bill's been guiding, heck, since you've been, what, 16?
Yeah, 15, I guess. And
yeah, and you're, what, 35, 40 now, right?
yeah, probably 7 or 8 years.
Yeah. But what we're going to talk to Bill about today is suspended fish with a flutter spoon. You know, Bill can catch them just about any way on Table Rock, but I think when them fish get suspended, Bill is probably, if not the best, one of the best fishermen on Table Rock when them fish get suspended. And here on Table Rock, that's quite a bit. Bill, what's your favorite time of year to throw a flutter spoon?
Well, it works real good, you know, post-spawn. A lot of our fish will, they'll start backing out and they'll rest up and they'll start feeding on shad over timber. A lot of the fish will suspend maybe 25 to 30 feet deep over treetops that are in 60 to 80 foot of water. Main lake points, bluff ends. And something we've used since the 70s, and they quit making it, but they started building it again as a Dixie Jet flutter spoon. And Tom Murphy, Bass Wishes Tackle, bought the Dixie Jet flutter spoon, and he's building it again. A lot of guys throw bigger flutter spoons, and I do too at times, but this one is real good when they come off to spawn, good through the summer, and definitely good in the fall because the shad are smaller. Like we use smaller blades on a spinnerbait, we also use a smaller spoon. And I throw a 1/2 and a 3/4, and I like to use like anywhere from a finesse jig rod on the heavy side, 610 finesse jig rod, and then I'll use also like my jerkbait rod, a 6'7" lightweight jerkbait rod, and I always throw it on 14 or 15 pound test, and I like fluorocarbon.
Now, what about the colors, Bill? Do you throw white or do you throw chrome all the time? Or?
You know, if I'm fishing a dark, cloudy day, or if we have a day where we will have, you know, real big wind, you know, and some clouds, I think the white, maybe they can see it better, but day in and day out, especially on just windy, sunny days, I really like chrome.
Now, a lot of these places you're finding the timber, are these pretty close to the spawning pockets where these fish have just got through spawning and just moving back out?
Yeah, a lot of times, you know, the fish will move out, they'll spawn in the pockets, they'll move out on the main lake around long, flat timbered points or on bluff ends, and they'll kind of heal up and they'll start feeding again. And they suspend, and when they're on shad, this thing is it's just really dependable. And
how do you determine what depth you need to be fishing the spoon at?
Well, we'll kind of trial and error. You know, a lot of times at Table Rock, it's a clear water technique, and it's something that works really good on Table Rock, Bull Shoals, Beaver Lake, a lot of clear water lakes, and then the bigger flutter spoons are used everywhere, Texas to Florida to everywhere. But this is just a nice, about a 2 3/4 inch spoon, comes in 1/2 and 3/4 ounce.
I noticed you got a swivel and a split ring. The Dixie Jets, when you buy them, they don't have anything. Right
well,
on.
They have a clip. I think they're making some changes. I think they're going to put a different hook, a bigger hook on it, a triple grip, a number 2. But what I do with it is to help with line twist. I'll use like a 3X strong saltwater split ring, and then I'll go to a good crane swivel, about the size that we would use. Oops, somebody's calling. So I'll use about the size that I would use on a Carolina rig, a fair-sized crane swivel, and it'll help with line twist, and put it on the split ring, and then I'll tie it directly to the other end of the crane swivel, and that works really good, helps with line twist.
I noticed the hook it's got that Mustad triple grip, and I found that I lose a whole lot less fish with the hook that it comes with that triple grip.
Yeah, you know, at first I looked at it and I didn't care for it, but once you get one hooked, they can't get off.
Right, I found with the other hook, sometimes when the fish would slap at it, I almost had a better chance of hooking them with the other hook, but like you say, if they bite it with that hook, they're usually yours, they're coming to the boat.
Yeah, my preference is a big wide gap, number 2. Treble hook, this is a number 4, and that's being changed on a Dixie Jet. He's putting a number 2 on it.
Is he going to stay with the triple grip then?
No, he's going to use he's experimenting with hooks. I'm not sure exactly what he's going to use, but I think he's going to use the Trocar.
Okay.
Number 2 Trocar. They're a little more expensive hooks. I think they're going to be packaged in 2 packs, from what I've heard, 2 spoons in a pack. But I always use a number 2 round bend like a Gamakatsu. I just like that little bigger hook. I've always liked a round bend. It's got the ability to hit fish that swat at it. This has actually got to be in their mouth because the points are turned in. But once they are, once they're hooked, you can't get them off.
You can't get them off. Yeah. Now we're coming up into the fall right now. I know it's another favorite time of yours for the flutter spoon.
Yeah, the fish are suspended. The shad are starting to move back into the creeks. I mean, you can catch them back in the creeks, right in the center of a creek. And I always figure it sinks about 1.5 feet a second. So I'll cast it out. I'll count it down. If I want it to be about 20 feet, I'll give it about a 12 count. And then I'll always give it a pop pop, and then I drop my tip slow and keep a bow in my line, and I follow that bait down. And I try to maintain that depth that I've counted it down to. So I always take 2 turns, give it a pop pop, and I try to maintain that 18 to 20 foot depth, or whatever depth I'm fishing.
So when you're retrieving it, you try to retrieve it either fast enough or slow enough to maintain that 15, 18 foot depth.
I do. I always give it a pop pop, and then I hold my rod at a 45, and I'll drop it a little bit with a bow in my line. They always hit the bait on the fall. So you give it a pop pop, and it's got a lot of flash as it flutters and falls down. But it's a great technique for catching suspended fish. It's pretty much a clear water bait. But the bigger spoons, the 3/4 and 5s that they use like in Texas and places, we use them here too at times when they're on bigger shad, and especially if you're on largemouths, big largemouths. But this Dixie Jet flutter spoon is something that was used a lot back in the 70s, and they quit making it. And we used a variety of other ones, but this one actually works really good.
Now here's a couple of the other spoons you were talking about. This is a Strike King, and I'm kind of with you. Whenever you start seeing the big gizzard shad, and if a guy's keying on largemouth, these can really come into play. But probably day in and day out, you're going to catch a lot more nimbers.
Yeah, this will catch. I mean, kind of our mainstay for guiding is Kentuckies and stuff. But we can catch them, get good Kentuckies on it. I'll catch some nice smallmouths on it. Definitely catches largemouths too.
It's also, I found it to be a real good bait when you've got some topwater activity, when the fish won't quite commit to a topwater bait, but there's a school of them. You can throw it out there and drop it down to whatever depth you think.
Yeah, it is good. A lot of times they're killing the shad on top, and then the bigger fish are below, and the flutter spoon is a great technique to catch them because you can just let it fall through the shad school, and they'll take the bait real good.
Now, what are you looking for in the fall? Are you going back into creeks and fishing a lot of secondary points still deeper structure?
Yeah, I'll do some secondaries, I like mostly big hardwoods, try to stay away from cedars. They have a lot of line in them, and you can always get this bait loose. One of the problems the guys don't like fishing it is because they get hung up. So if you just keep pressure on it, just like a Alabama rig or something, to go straight to your bait, so you don't get around other limbs and you get right over top of it, the weight of the spoon, if you pull it, it'll eventually pull itself loose. But I go back in the creeks and I fish secondary points, big hardwood points. Try to pull it through those trees, and if you get it on a tree limb and hop it over a tree limb, it's almost guaranteed.
Now, a lot of times when we were vertical fishing, we use a slab spoon. What makes you throw a flutter spoon? In what situations do you rather the flutter spoon versus a slab spoon?
Well, I use like a knocker or slab spoon, the jigging spoon, if I'm fishing straight up and down. Back in the creeks, out on main lake flats, or boat docks. This is a spoon that you actually cast and try to maintain a depth and work it back. But here's a real good one like Pete has for Table Rock. 3/4 ounce. Well, I use a 1/2 and a 3/4 most often, but this is a great spoon when you have the fish either in a dock or you're fishing vertical and actually fishing for a school of fish. Or
like you say, the slab spoon it's so much harder to keep that at a 15 to 18 foot depth where the flutter spoon falls so much
this
slower.
will fall and have some flash. The flutter spoon will actually make 1 foot swipes each way. It's a much slower fall.
Yeah.
Nice flash.
Yeah, it definitely got a lot more action. I know fishing the docks, a lot of times I like to throw this because it gets down to the depth faster. But the flutter spoon, it takes longer, but it's got so much more action. It's just going sideways.
The flutter spoon is pretty good if you're fishing it at an angle. When you go to work it up straight up and down, it has a tendency to hook the line, and it does get tangled more than a jigging spoon will. But if you're pitching in a dock and working it back to you, the flutter spoon is a great technique because it falls slower, it keeps it in front of the fish longer.
You stay with same size line when you're in and around the docks, you go a little heavier sometimes.
I rarely go, if I was fishing a dock and having to pitch over boat lifts, I would probably consider using braid or maybe 20-pound fluoro, but 14, 15-pound fluoro is pretty good for it. You do catch quality fish on it, you want to be able to put them in a boat.
And, you know, and a good point you had earlier, I noticed too, when you get the spoon stuck, if a person doesn't get too aggressive trying to get it out, you get the boat over the top of it. Like you said, the weight of the spoon just keep taking and shaking
You
your
know,
rod.
if you get right straight on top of it and just, instead of pulling, just lift the spoon, let it fall, the weight of the spoon will free itself. But so many of our trees have line in them. And
Yeah, lots of line.
hopefully your line is stronger than theirs, but mine never is.
Bill, if people want to contact you about a guide trip, what's the best way for them to reach you? On your website?
Yep, I'm Table Rock Guide Service, Bill Beck. You can go on there, you can email me, you can call me, my cell phone's on there. Probably the best way to get a hold of me.
Well, Bill, I appreciate your time, and till we do another one, thanks everybody for listening.
All right, thanks guys.